Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
And welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, CEO of Keeper of the Brand Marketing and Digital Agency, along with my co-host Ray Sweats, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union. We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview some of the top business leaders in the community. Now, this week, I am honored to have our guest. She has style and grace. Michele Grant, executive business consultant and author of The Power Dressers. Michele, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Donyshia and Ray, for having me on the show today to discuss my new book, The Power Dressers.
Yes, I'm so excited. I see you all the time at conventions and in the business world, and you are definitely one that is setting the tone. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey that led you to be a consultant.
Absolutely. Over the past 2 decades, I've spent a significant amount of my experience as an executive business consultant working for Fortune 500 companies. And it really began in my technology career, really began as an internet marketer in media. And then I transitioned through various experiences and roles to becoming a consultant and leading complex business transformation programs. My experience has taken me through Fortune 500 companies, as well as many different industries, talking about banking and finance, pharmaceuticals, even healthcare and insurance. And throughout the years, I found that the way you show up really speaks volumes in terms of how you're perceived and the way that people interact with you. So I spent some time really thinking about how I can communicate that to a broader audience after receiving years and years of requests of tips for advice on professional style and building a strong professional image. And the results of putting pen to paper, of sharing this information, resulted in my debut book, The Power Dressers, really speaking to how you can be consistent in providing and showing a strong and confident sense of professional style and explaining why it's so important and how it impacts your career trajectory.
No, that's fantastic. And so what truly inspired you to decide now is the time to sit down and write The Power Dressers? And why do you think this topic is so crucial to women today?
Absolutely. My journey as a writer really started quite a few years ago. This has been a continuum of about, I would say, 7 to 8 years, just putting thoughts on paper on different experiences that I've had in my career and why I've utilized this as a tool in different scenarios to really project who I am, what I bring to the table, and the sense of dynamism us women as leaders portray and actually need to exude in our different roles. And so my decision to start writing about it is really to say, how can this be a sense of or a source of empowerment for women, and really explain and dive into being intentional about making the right style choices and how do you do that step by step. And so that really is the inspiration and reasoning behind why I decided to create the Power Dressers and why this information will continue to be shared in different mediums and fashions, even as we grow outside of the book.
Oh, that's fantastic. And how did you come up with the title, The Power Dressers?
Well, I sat down for quite some time thinking through how is the best way to depict a woman who brings her power to bear, who brings her talent, her strengths, everything that she exudes and wants to portray in her role and future roles that she's looking to achieve and attain. And I found that the simplicity is key. So not only in your attire, but also in your speech and wording. And I just said that is exactly what we're doing when we dress, and we are power dressers when we combine these two aspects of our own unique style as well as our dynamism and talents in our leadership.
Now, today we live in a very complex workplace, virtual, hybrid, some in office 100%. What defines a power dresser in today's workplace with all these different landscapes?
Well, a power dresser is really going to be a standout, a differentiator, someone who exudes in. There are multiple ways that we communicate. There are multiple aspects to us. There are multiple ways that we lead, and this particular concept of power dressing really leads into how do we do that in the workplace? How do we ensure that we're combining all of these aspects of who we are and leveraging fashion to express them?
Now, in the beginning of the book, you emphasize the importance of dressing for your unique body type. And oh, do we struggle with that, so many people. How do you address the challenge of maintaining a consistent professional image while adapting to your different body styles and sizes and different shapes?
The first step I take, and it's also one of the major areas that I talk about in the beginning of the book around, starting out with your unique body type and really understanding that the challenges, the struggles, as well as, and it's not always a struggle, but the challenges and also the unique aspects of who we are. The body type is going to be important. We want our attire to fit well. We want we want to accentuate our positives in terms of who we are, our physique. And so that plays a big role in the choices that we're going to make for our clothing, accessories, etc. And we want to flatter and enhance what that physique looks like. And using our body type is definitely going to be an important element in making those decisions.
Absolutely. And we see it every day. So many people and women struggle with this topic, right?
Yes.
And so let's talk about the psychology of color. And it's a fascinating topic you covered in Chapter 3. Could you elaborate on how certain colors might be strategically used in different professional scenarios?
Absolutely. We know that colors evoke emotion, colors evoke response and perception, and that those are tenets of our professional and personal style. And so it should be part of the intentionality. And when you think about the different colors and how we put them together and what it is that we're looking to achieve in a given scenario, whether it be an interview or high-stake meeting, we want to utilize that element to get the results and the outcomes that we're looking for. And so if you are going to be more in a serious space or event, you're going to look at colors like navy and black, right? That project authority, seriousness. And then on the other hand, if you know that this is an opportunity for you to be more approachable and show that, there are aspects to your personality and your leadership that you would like to convey outside of that more serious nature, you can go with a color that provides more calm and openness to being approachable, like light blue or pastels. And, those moods really reflect your ability also to read the room. We talk about that often, and understand the environment that you're going to be in to be most effective.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz, and our guest today is Michele Grant, Executive Business Consultant and author of The Power Dressers. And so now, Michele, sustainability is a key theme in Chapter 4. What are some practical tips you offer for building a sustainable professional wardrobe without compromising on style and breaking the bank?
There are many aspects to building a sustainable wardrobe, but in my book, I take a very simple approach. I give very attainable ways that we can incorporate this plan or decision into building our wardrobe. And so the key is really to focus on high quality pieces, timeless pieces that you can maintain well. I talk through why maintenance is important. The element that I always like to say is begin to do, some research around sustainable materials like organic cotton, tencel, et cetera. And these, aspects to your attire can sometimes even benefit you in being more comfortable, et cetera, breathable materials, but also, you're impacting and you're being conscientious about the way that they're being produced and the way that they are being manufactured. Now, the other element too is not always looking at starting out with a new purchase. There are options now available, like renting or buying secondhand. I call it pre-loved items. And the idea there is really to say, we are going to be changing, right? There's always change. There's change in our wardrobes. There's change in our careers. And so you're not going to really keep items for a significant amount of time. Of course, that's the goal if they're high quality pieces. But the longevity of an item sometimes is even longer than you will keep it for. And so looking at other options like that really can be beneficial, and it's also very eco-conscious.
And so now you also took a deep dive into navigating the professional dress code. How do you advise women to balance professional style with strict corporate dress codes, especially in traditionally conservative industries?
Well, it's all about taking a subtle approach to customization, right? And how we infuse our personal style into our attire while still keeping in mind the cultural expectations of the company and the environment that you will be operating in. I always say this book really speaks to women who are at every stage of their career, from interns all the way to seasoned executives. And so err on conservative, but add a bit of flair in subtle ways. You can even look at different fabrics, which I touch on in the book: brocade, tweed, all sorts of textures that you can also consider to add that differentiating element to your outfits and your attire. And really remembering to remain balanced. Sometimes less is more. I always start to building an outfit as a canvas. And then in the end, you think, is there one piece that I should take off? So that's my tip to how to really manage those dress codes, even in the most conservative or strict areas.
No, absolutely. And that's so key for women out there, right? They need to understand how their closet, it sounds like you're sharing, and then also, how to be versatile depending on where they are.
Indeed.
Now, how has a shift into virtual and the digital environment impact professional dress codes in online meetings, virtual calls, video calls?
Well, being in tech and being a global business consultant, I can tell you, we have catapulted into this virtual remote space unlike ever before. And so, it definitely has leaned towards a more relaxed dress code as opposed to traditional. But it is really important to understand that professional presentation and perceptions still exist, and it's still important to be intentional about what that presentation is going to look like for you.
Absolutely.
And yes,
And I was going to
yes.
say absolutely, because what we learned from the pandemic is that people they see through the Zoom, right? They see through Teams.
Exactly. And, we want to be memorable. We want to utilize every space and opportunity that we're in to bring attention to the important information that we might be sharing in that moment. And one way to do that is make sure that you are visually presenting a professional personal brand. And when you're on camera, there's some elements that you want to add to that, even outside of attire, like paying attention to your lighting, having really good lighting, keeping your backgrounds very simple, neutral as much as possible. You don't want to take away from your message. You want to enhance and be additive to your message and complement your message that you will be sharing. And so you want to consider any elements that impact that, and your environment is just as important as your attire. When we're thinking about attire, we want to, again, make sure that we hold focus when it's important to understand what that means on camera. You don't want to go into many patterns that might be distracting or colors that might reflect on camera and really be, too jarring or, again, distracting for that moment. And so very bright colors, yellows, reds, sometimes do not always resonate as well as it would in person when you're on camera. So all of these aspects should be taken into consideration. And I do give quite a few tips on that and setting yourself up for success in the virtual space in the book as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. What cultural considerations should women keep in mind when dressing for global business environments?
Mm, the key to leadership is really leaning in and understanding those that we are working with and serving. There are going to be cultural norms that will be in an underpinning aspect to who we're working with on an international level. And so respecting those cultural norms will be important. We want to be educated and know about a country's cultural norm as it relates to business etiquette. We want to be very intentional as we travel or even as we interact with these teams. It could be virtually or in person, even where we are. And wearing attire that shows that you understand that and you understand that their culture might be more conservative or not. Certain colors might have certain meanings in other cultures that you'd be surprised to know might not be in line with what you're trying to do or establish. And I can say in global settings, one of the things you want to do is really build trust when working with different cultures, and it leads to positive relationships. So that would be my advice, is to go in very knowledgeable about the cultural norms in that particular society.
And how do you advise women to balance the comfort with style in their professional wardrobes?
This is a great question. I get this a lot, and so my number one thing is, as we start to think about our professional style and how we show up, it is an impact. It impacts the way you feel about yourself and how you're going to operate and how comfortable you are in that space and in that environment. And so comfort, not putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be uncomfortable, is really important. So thinking about fabrics being suitable for the weather and the area and the activity you will be doing is important. you might need to really look at having or wearing items that have more stretch to it, that are breathable, depending on where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing. Your shoes, you might want to think about heel height a little bit more intentionally to ensure that you are able to move around. You're not sacrificing mobility or comfort for, the outfit, and really making sure that it's well coordinated yet comfortable for you.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Michele Grant, executive business consultant and author of The Power Dressers. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Sweats on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Now, Michele, you have so many great quotes in the book. What is your favorite quote if you had to choose one?
The first point I made is perception is everything. And so there are so many good favorite quotes I have from the book, indeed. But the one I will share today is your style speaks really before you do. And so make sure it's saying what you want the world to hear.
Very nice. And now, what a great accomplishment. You achieved the #1 Amazon bestseller status on a page-turner book. And I mean, an award finalist. How has the response been to your book influenced your future plans? I'm sure you have some really great, strategy and plans ahead of us.
Definitely. It's, the response has been overwhelming. It really has. And it really shows the power of voice and your reaching broad audiences. It's really reaffirmed, the goal that I had in mind with the Power Dressers and sharing this information, and the empowerment and inspiring impact it will have on women across the board. And that's what I'm seeing in the response. So The Power Dressers is a #1 bestseller. It's also a page turner finalist. And I must say that I'm inspired. This response has inspired me. There will be workshops coming. There will be some coaching sessions as well from a human resources standpoint. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the future holds.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, look, you're a page turner, you're a style, you're a power dresser, in which is so fitting in itself. Ladies and gentlemen out there listening, if you haven't seen Michele, because you're listening, she's dynamic. And so you have a lot of great accomplishments. Talk to us a little bit about maybe an experience you had with being a power dresser, and give us an example on how that really impacted the room or your experiences.
Absolutely. I've had many opportunities to board meetings and high stake C-suite readouts. And I remember working with an entertainment company, and we were replatforming their programming platform and technologies. And I chose for that particular first readout to the executive branch of the company to wear a suit that was intentional, from the color being on brand, wearing their brand colors, being intentional about my accessories. And I ended up wearing a gray suit that had their brand color, their red brand color camisole underneath, as well as a beautiful scarf, jewelry, and really made sure that I had a positioning in the room where I was clearly visible, standing and projecting. Of course, your experience and expertise is really what the focus will be. But I knew what I wore was an underpinning to everything that I was communicating that day. And later on, the CIO came up to me and said, I can tell you this, you are a powerhouse. And from the time you walk in the room, I already know what you're going to say, and what you're going to communicate is going to be outstanding and impactful. And so that speaks a lot to how you dressed and the way that you package yourself. So your branding is really, really outstanding. And so that's something we would love to see others really pick up and see. It's a great example. And I thought that was a confirmation of how I approach it and why it is important to be intentional and conscientious in this aspect of your career.
No, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, right now we know your book is available on Amazon. You talked about some of the things you have planned. How can people find you and connect with you?
Absolutely. They can find me on my website, which is www.powerdressers.com. And you can also connect on me on most social media websites. It includes Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whichever you prefer.
And what's one final thought you'd like to leave with the audience today?
Always remember that your professional style is a powerful tool in and outside of the workplace, and you want to really be in tune with where you are today, but more importantly, where you want to be in the next 5 years, and planning for that, dressing in that attire and dressing in that manner from now is really important to ensure that you reach and achieve the goals that you're looking for.
We'd like to thank our guest, Michele Grant, Executive Business Consultant and author, The Power Dressers, and leave you with DB's philosophy. Dress shabbily, and they remember the dress. Dress impeccable, and they remember the woman. Be a power dresser. We want to thank you for being with us today. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz, your co-hosts and producers. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcast, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, I'm Ice-T. As a veteran, I know that for many former servicemen and women, the battle doesn't always end when they come home. Every day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and sadly, 20 take their own lives. When nothing else helps, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane, serving the U.S. military for over 100 years, rescues animals in need of forever homes and trains them to become free, life-saving service dogs for our nation's veterans. If you're a veteran or know a veteran struggling with post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury, please go to AmericanHumane.org to learn about their Pups for Patriots program. Let's give our veterans a fighting chance.
This year, over 50,000 law enforcement officers have been assaulted while on duty. A vast number of these attacks were filmed and uploaded to social media in the pursuit of likes and attention.
What they want to do is film you instead of like, what can I do to help this officer?
Together, we can change this disturbing trend.
If that individual would have hit the right spot, it could have been it for me. Last time I would have saw my wife, my kids.
I'm Mike Solon. Law enforcement officers need your support. If you see an officer under attack, then follow these simple steps in order to help. 1. Call 911 and give the officer's exact location. 2. Ask the officer if you can assist. If the officer accepts, then do whatever you can do to safely help. 3. If the officer declines, then start filming and be a good witness. It's time to stop filming and start helping.